Something I've always wanted to do is to score music for a ride, a Disney World thrill ride or some sort of amusement park. To be able to tell real-time story through loops and bends and curves and dips and drops just sounds like really cool, especially if it has an awesome theme to go with it. Think Space Mountain or some of the Universal rides. So since I probably won't be able to do that anytime soon, I decided why not make my own roller coaster in Minecraft and then just score music to it. So I went ahead and I made my own roller coaster using a mod called Splinecart. So I just want you to check it out, and then we're going to be adding some music to it. Enjoy the ride and keep your arms, hands, feet, and legs inside the vehicle at all times. All right, so that's my little ride I made called the Ender Dragon, and I spent like, I think 2 afternoons on it. It was really fun to make. I am a big fan of roller coasters, and so I've made this ride based off, well, the Ender Dragon, right? I'm kind of like thinking I want some really intense music, almost like you're being chased by the dragon. Some inspirations I have that I can think of right now is Mako from SeaWorld. I'll play a couple of clips of that. So super intense, yet kind of beautiful, right? Because, well, I kind of want an outer space-ish vibe, not quite going the Space Mountain route, very beautiful and mysterious while also being intense. Maybe a little bit of the Space Mountain. If you ever heard Space Mountain in California, composed by Michael Giacchino, how it has a little bit of the electric instruments along with Michael Giacchino's orchestra. All right, so we're going to start writing out the sketch, and unfortunately I'm not fast enough at composing currently to record the whole process of instrumentation, but we're definitely going to be making the sketch on camera. So let's get started. So I've adjusted the tempo here, 148, and I think it syncs up nicely with the takeoff here. So right there is where we want our drop. And so it does take off a little bit more. I was kind of syncing it when it goes through the steam. So that's where it's going to start. All right, so, and we can always adjust a little bit if it needs to be adjusted. What could we do for the build-up? Let me think. Maybe a low E flat. Okay, maybe an E flat 5, like a perfect fifth. Just not major or minor, just kind of in the middle. Okay, so maybe we'll build up a little bit. Okay, so my idea is this is going to be low brass and maybe bass doubled. And then right here, maybe we could start building up some higher strings. So let me play around with this a little bit. Maybe it needs to start building up a little bit earlier. All right, let's see. Now we need the harmony. All right, so remember, these are high strings. It's going to sound a lot better, but maybe we should reinforce the bass here. Again, these low basses, these low notes right here are going to be bass and maybe tuba doubled, maybe a low French horn. No, I think this is going to sound pretty good. Let's see. This is where I want kind of a groove going. So I kind of have some ideas for a melody. Something like this. Something like that, like a low C, perfect, a C and a G, like a fifth, and but like the top is trying to do a 2 major, but it's not quite working. Let's see if that works. Let's change the tempo here. It's just feeling a little bit slow, and maybe it would help when I have more instruments, but I'm gonna change it up just a little bit faster. Okay, let's see. And then maybe octave. All right, so I've changed the melody a bit to... All right, so what I have going on here is, so I want it to stabilize a bit. So it's kind of off right here while you're swerving back and forth. So I kind of want it to feel like very intense, but not too intense yet because, well, you're very close to the ground. So, but then as soon as you hit the chain lift, now we found our home ground on a new key because we're about to start the next part of the ride. All right, so let's keep going here. All right, perfect. All right, so we need really screechy strings right here at the drop, almost like a scream, like you're going down a roller coaster. Okay, well, no legato with piano, but you get the idea. And maybe some low bass climbing down, like. All right, we'll see how this sounds with bass. I don't know if I'll keep it, but we'll see. It sounds kind of fun. All right, and now we'll have strings come back up. All right, so we're about halfway through, so we really need to start building up the intensity. Now I want the French horns to take over the melody, so the strings are going to be diving up and down depending on what we're doing here on the track. So I think maybe I'll start with the melody and then I'll come back and do the strings to make sure that, you know, it sounds good, and then try to, you know, fit the tracks. So I guess we're back in E flat. Now we're going to do the idea with the C. I think this is a better place to do it. All right, now here when we go up like this, I want this very beautiful closing before getting intense again, because you're going up over the end crystal. It's kind of, you know, I want that gliding feeling. So let's see if we can do that. All right, so let's hear this without bass, not the whole way after here, but. All right, let me maybe change the melody towards the end. All right, let me figure out what I want the harmony to be. Almost. All right, let's fix this up. Okay, so here's what I have for the ending melody and the harmony so far. I might change it when I do the voicing. This is French horn. All right, let me continue the strings here. Okay, so here it is. Let's see if it syncs up well, and then we'll start on instrumentation. Pretty good. I'm going to make a couple more changes and then we're going to move on to instrumentation. The only change I saw was on this drop here. I forgot to put anything right here. It's just the bass. So I'm just going to add like a chord buildup here. Okay, so this French horn is like wah, 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 wah. Hopefully that would be good. Again, sometimes I do change the melody a little bit if the instrument of choice doesn't really work well. So let's move on to instrumentation. I'm going to spend a couple days on that and then I will see you when it's done. All right, so I went ahead and orchestrated it, made sure it syncs up with the ride. I'm just going to play it for you and then we're going to go through and look at the instruments individually and then we can play it with the ride synced and you can let me know what you think. There we have it. So first of all, if you remember the piano climbing up, and I'm pretty sure I told you guys it was going to sound better with violins. So we have it starting out with the violins and the viola. With a hint of these brass, the French horn and the trumpets come in right here, these red ones right here. So it just accents those two spiccato notes. Then for the lower here, we have the bass and the sub-synth bass, just to kind of add some extra bass that the Cinematic Studio bass can't really portray. And I take away the bass here as we take off, because with the ride audio, there's already just so much going on right there that I didn't think you need the bass there. And plus, if in real life, if you were going to be shooting off at this speed, you're not going to be hearing all the details. So you're going to hear the wind in your ears and stuff like that. And then it crashes right here as soon as you go up the rail. We're going to bring this over here so you can see it a bit better. And I think that syncs pretty well going up there. And then for the next part, all the way until the chain lift, it definitely sounds like we don't really know where we are, and we haven't really settled on a home base yet. So let's see how this sounds. So I kind of still wanted that soaring effect while you go around the obsidian pillars, but it still feels very intense and like you don't know what's about to happen. So I have the violins and the trumpets, and it's almost like, it's very hard to describe exactly what I get from this, but it's like, it's pretty much suggesting a threat. It's asking like, okay, like, since it sounds so off, it's like, I kind of want to, man, it's really hard to describe. I want to give the rider the feeling of just uncertainty on where you're going to land. And so it's like, so, okay, let's see if I can put this. So it goes up and then lands about where you would expect it, but then it goes even higher the next time, a half step, and then you're like, where are we going to land now? And then this is where we land on a whole new key, which is A minor, I believe. So maybe that makes sense. I'm not really good at explaining why I do the things I do, but hopefully you guys are catching on. So after all of that intense, like uncertainty, we are now on A minor, climbing up the chain lift. So I'm just going to play these woodwinds solo. And then I have the French horn and the trumpets. All right, I just got to show this. So the bass here. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure how the double bass players would actually do this. Honestly, like if I had someone actually do this score like orchestrally, I probably would just have them pressing super hard on the bass and just like sliding down on the neck like that. Maybe have them work together so that one's sliding down on one string, the other one starts on the next one, that one starts, and kind of that delayed so that you never hear them switching strings, if that makes sense. That would just be something I would play around with. All right, and then this ugly chord here, purposely ugly, mind you, is supposed to be like, imagine you fall off a cliff and, you know, it's already scary and, you know, the bass, but then you realize, oh, great, I could die from this. And that's when these chords are the realization that you're falling. Okay, so if that makes sense, it's like you fall and that's scary enough, and then you're going upside down and then the horns kick in. Almost like a scream, right? It's like a delayed scream, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, kind of. So I have the violins here, doubled with the flute. And that just kind of gives it that, like, I just want to make sure to not make it almost sound like a pop song, you know, where it's just very certain where it is. I want it to constantly be moving around, because in a roller coaster, it's not very often that you're staying in one place. That's why the only time it does kind of feel certain where it is, you're on the chain lift, because nothing's really happening on the chain lift. I do like how well this syncs up with, as soon as you hit that upside down, the corkscrew, as soon as you hit the upside down frame right there, listen, it drops like almost perfectly timing. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I like that. So I'm imagining this melody that the trumpets and some of the string section does to be it's kind of the like, I would imagine that being like the main theme almost. Like if you were in queue for the ride, like waiting in line, this is the theme you would hear. Maybe less intense, maybe more toned down a bit. That would be like the Ender Dragon theme in this imaginary theme park. That's another thing. I really like French horn counter melodies. And so we have this here. And that goes well with the main melody. Oh, I forgot these woodwind up here. So, this is embarrassing. The woodwind were really supposed to match. You see in the left corner here, right as you go up, the woodwind would have went up and then start going down, and that's how I had it at first. But really, just with the song, like it perfectly syncs up with this lift. As soon as you hit right there, the main melody comes in, and the woodwind just came in a little too early when they match up with that, so it's a little late. Let's see if you see what I mean. So they're kind of delayed, but it was the only way I could really make it sound good, and I think it's more important for it to sound good than to actually fit with every twist and turn of the ride. All right, and that's it. It ends on the note we started on, I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Yep, starts on an E flat, and that's where we started off. So E flat, but then we have this this B. It's a sharp 5, which sounds very mysterious, ominous. And then we have the strings doing some crazy things here. So E flat, but then up here we have, let's solo these out. Right? It's kind of ominous, and maybe sounds like a dragon, maybe a little bit. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to play the ride for you with the music all together so you can see it. But before that, I just want to thank you for watching, and let me know how I can get better at videos like this, because this is really what I want to do, is make music and show why I made certain decisions and hopefully learn some things on the way. So this took longer than it should to make, but maybe I can get faster at that, and maybe these videos are going to help me to get faster at that. I'm going to play the ride for you, and I hope you enjoy, and thanks for dropping by.